And we are live. Hello, guys. My name is Juan. Uh, the channel is called Modern Atheism. And today I want to start a call-in show where people can call in to defend the resurrection. So, hi, Dale. I see you there in the studio. Thank you for coming. Let's just let me check real quick. I have to add the link to the description somehow so people will be able to call. Yeah, I see the live. We are live in YouTube. So just real quick, let me give you some rules. You have to be over 18 to call to this kind of things. Second, please make sure there is no music or radio on the background or TV or something. So just don't get my channel in trouble. And please don't use any slurs or even there are some words that the algorithm doesn't like, right? So please avoid doing that. This is the first time I've done this. So, yeah, I don't want to get my channel in trouble or anything. I'm a bit paranoid about this. So, yeah, okay. Anyway, I think the link is in the description. Now, let's get our first guest. Hi, Dale. How are you?
Hey, Juan. I'm good. How are you?
Good, and you?
Yeah, doing good. Had a busy day today, so believe it or not, this is the third podcast I've done today. So, yeah.
That's great. Okay. Do you know how you don't have a camera, but do you know how can I add a person without the webcam? Because I'm trying to look how, but I don't.
Without the webcam,
Yeah. Whatever.
like
Like how?
wait,
That's how could I add a person with audio only, for example? I don't want to worry about what they can be doing in the
oh,
background.
so like they want their webcam on, but
And
you don't like
yeah,
what they're showing.
that's right.
There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is kick them from the studio. But yeah, they have to turn off their camera. You can't control that.
Okay, I see. Okay, yeah, thanks for telling me that. Yeah, I was trying to look at if there is a way to do it, but I
I
don't
think
think there
I
is.
think you are able to mute them though. Like
Yeah, I see that. Okay. Yeah, Dale is a friend of mine. He has his own channel called Real Seekers Ministries, and he has a great channel. Just today we had a great conversation with Jonathan McClatchy
hmm.
on the topic of Paul.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, so
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
yeah
go ahead. Yeah,
yeah, that
that
was
was
very
one of
interesting.
his. All right,
Right.
I'll go ahead first. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's one of his main arguments because interestingly, so I've been kind of working with him behind the scenes. I've been uh, ever since I did a show with Lydia McGrew. I had questions about the prior probability issue, and based on something she said, it was possible I might lose my faith over it and that sort of thing because if it was possible I was mistaken on how I was handling the prior probability. So I got in touch with Lydia and then eventually Jonathan McClatchy, and they've been doing great helping me out discussing through that issue. Now that issue has been solved largely, but in doing that, they kind of raised issues about they think things that can raise the prior probability for the resurrection hypothesis is actually arguments that prove Christianity's true. So they're kind of doing it the opposite way around. And on that front, that's what Jonathan McClatchy was arguing. One of the four arguments he offers is that the conversion of Paul is directly proof of Christianity's true. And if Christianity is true, obviously it follows the resurrection happened and stuff like that. So, yeah, we were discussing the conversion of Paul and what's the significance of that.
Yeah, from what I understood today, it's not like the conversion is proof. It's not just that. It was more like also from many things like undesigned coincidences or all these uh, matching details in Acts and in Paul's epistles. We have confidence that Paul was not lying, right? He said we can be very certain of this. And we also know that Paul couldn't have been mistaken about those things because there is at some point where, okay, you cannot be mistaken or whether you're blind for 3 days or not, right? That's just too much, I think. One thing is an hallucination, but to say that you got blind for 3 days, that doesn't happen, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I should clarify. So for him, it's the conversion of Paul
no,
and his miracles that creates the argument. And on that front, he has a trilemma argument. In the same way, C.S. Lewis said, "Well, Jesus is either a lord, a liar, or a lord, liar, or lunatic," kind of thing. He has a similar argument for Paul. And so at first he says, "Look, he wasn't lying about his experience and stuff like that." And also, the next part is he doesn't go quite as harsh, but he says not only was he not a lunatic, but what he reports is actually sincere and reliable testimony. So therefore, it's probably true. And if miraculous conversion and miracle healings and stuff like that, if that's true, then it follows Christianity's true. So that's how he basically has a trilemma argument, but for Paul specifically.
yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Would it? Were you convinced by it, or yeah? What were your
Well,
thoughts?
okay. If you were to push me right on Paul, right? I've talked to Jonathan on his streams with Eric from Testify. If you have to push me, I had to. I think I have to say that Luke was lying. Really, I think that this is like the only plausible option. I don't
Mhm.
because I don't think Paul was lying. Right? He doesn't seem to be a liar. He seems to be sincere, right? Sincere,
Yeah.
honest, and all. Right? I don't know.
Sincere.
Now that you mention it, I don't know if there are many miracles on his epistles. If he tells a lot about his miracles, because then I will have to. Yeah, I didn't think of that, but regarding Acts, I think I will have to say that Luke is lying or embellishing the narrations and the stories that he got from Paul. Yeah, I think I will have to say that.
Yeah, he believe it or not, yeah, Paul confirms the reality of miracles in his ministry. So I'm Second Corinthians
Oh,
chapter 12 verse 12, and in fact, and Romans chapter 15 verse 19.
really?
And he also confirms the book of Acts, chapter 19, about the healing by cloths. Or
Or really? Did he say that he witnessed it himself, or was it like could it have been something that someone else told him? Maybe I'll have to look at the verse. We can look at it like which is the strongest, or which exactly are you do you have in mind?
okay, so what's coming up when I looked it up is so Second Corinthians 12:12 is the first one. That states that the signs of the true apostle. Okay, where's the verse itself? I'm not. Stupid AI keeps getting in the way.
Yeah, yeah, I persevere in demonstrating among you. Okay, yeah, yeah, you're right. He said he has done signs, right? That's true. Maybe, yeah, okay. Maybe he was one of those charismatic healing types, like modern charismatic healing types that sometimes can cure psychosomatic illnesses. Maybe he went to Christian communities that were already convinced, like, they already had a belief in this, like modern churches. This happens all the time to modern churches, and they believe that they can be healed by faith. And he went and put his hands on them or something, and they claimed they were to be healed. Like maybe it was something like that going on. I don't know.
Do you think how likely do you think that would be? Again, given his background as a strict, zealous Pharisee, a no nonsense type Orthodox Jewish believer, but then when he converts to Christianity, do you think that would change like the mode of worship? Because I don't know, I haven't done any research into that and stuff, but I would imagine like when I was an unbeliever, I kind of I had the same style, I guess, that I do now as a Christian. I'm not some Pentecostal clucking like a chicken and doing all that. So yeah, like what do you think it would be likely that Paul would change that drastically in terms of how he approaches God?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that when he converted, he became all crazy, like to the level of some modern churches that are really like they put on a show.
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
wasn't that much, but I mean, maybe he got some stuff. For example, people would have told Paul, like the disciples and the early Christians, they would have told Paul a lot about the Jesus miracles, because maybe Jesus was a miracle healer indeed, in the naturalistic sense that of healing psychosomatic illnesses and stuff like that. And they told him so much about this. It was so important. Jesus did so much of this that now Paul incorporated those things as elements in his belief system. Like now, even if before he was an Orthodox Jew, where he didn't believe in any of those stuff, but then he incorporated.
Yeah, I think the moderate, more nuanced claim makes sense, and yeah, that probably is what actually happened, even from the Christian worldview. Although we would just be differ in that, well, Paul actually witnessed miracles happening from Peter and stuff like that, and the other early Christians. So yeah, he kind of adopted. Yeah, there are real miracles in the Christian church. The Holy Spirit is actually active in this time. So, all right, fair enough. Yeah, I have my own take, I guess, on Paul, the appearance to Paul, because I have a different. So I approached it when I was an unbeliever. I approached it from three different arguments. So the first argument I did is, so number one, Paul is a skeptic, and by that I meant a zealous skeptic. So I disagreed. I think the evidence is that it's true that Paul was zealous in his persecution and hatred of Christians. He was not experiencing cognitive dissonance, some secret doubts or sympathy towards Christians. I think we can actually rule that out as improbable, given the evidence, right? Given Paul's own autobiographical information. Yeah.
What about guilt? Secret guilt over what he was doing? Feeling guilty.
I think we can rule that out as well, because again, in Galatians, his autobiographical statements are he was zealous for what he's doing. There's no indication of maybe this is wrong. No, he feels, yeah, I'm killing these people for God, and there's no hesitation that I detect in his own autobiography. The other thing that's a tip off is in 1 Corinthians 15. When I was reading N.T. Wright's take, and again, it's been years since I looked at this, but this untimely born, how Paul was untimely born, this also, although I forget now how to argue it, but N.T. Wright argues this was also indicative of the fact, yeah, he was not experiencing doubts or hesitations. He was fully on board, and it wasn't until he had his appearance that he became born again, obviously, and stuff like that. But before that, no, he was untimely born, because before that he was fully on board. Yeah, I don't know. If that makes sense.
Is that what untimely born means? Like,
yeah, if you read N.T. Wright's book on it, he has something about it where it's the meaning of that has implications for Paul's mental state at the time. And yeah, so it's, look, yeah, he was you never had this period of gestation where he's kind of, I don't know, maybe Christianity is true, maybe I shouldn't be killing these guys. That's improbable, let's just say. Yeah.
But I mean, could it be that he had it, but he just didn't tell us about it? I mean, it's like, does he explicitly say, I never had a moment of doubt, or never felt guilty, right? Or it's more like, I mean, could it be that he ignored that because he feels like, okay, I don't want to confuse people with that, right? I want to, for rhetorical purposes, right, of writing a book, a literary product, an epistle, right? Just for rhetoric, you want to present yourself as, I was this zealous guy, like one side, clear side, without confusing people or something. Maybe he just didn't mention that, but he had some doubts.
Yeah, but it's more than just a lack of mention. Like you would have to be saying he's a liar then, because what he explicitly says is denying again, on a balance of probabilities, right?
Where in which verse do you remember? You don't have that? Which verse?
It's in Galatians when he gives his.
Galatians.
Either chapter 1 or chapter 3.
Okay.
when he describes himself. I'm a Pharisee of
Yeah,
Pharisees.
yeah, I know what you mean. I know. I don't know which exact verse that is, but yeah, yeah, chapter. I think Galatians.
Okay, it might be chapter.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. I mean, I think he could like describe himself as mostly being a persecutor of the church, but he could think like, okay, my internal doubts about it do not take away from the fact that I was a zealous persecutor of the church and I took my job seriously and I actively did this. Like even if he had internal doubts, that doesn't make that false. You know what I mean? In a way.
So where are you? I just want to be reading it with you.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm
Where is it?
looking.
Galatians chapter what?
No, I'm also looking at it. I'm
Okay, okay.
trying to look at it.
A Pharisee according to the law.
Yeah, I think it's Paul. It's chapter 1, verse 13. Yeah, he says he intensely persecuted uh, the church of God and tried to destroy it. Verse 13. Right. Yeah, he says he was
Gotcha.
extremely
Yeah, and
zealous.
when
Yeah,
I
yeah,
looked at the commentaries as to
yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
chapter verse 15, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and here's where yeah, exactly. So the language here, if you study the commentaries, it's not allowing for the possibility. Not the only way around it is saying, yeah, he's lying or purpose lying through, yeah, like
yeah,
he's just over exaggerating or something. Now that's possible, but again, like I said, it's improbable. You're
yeah.
twisting the evidence to suit
But,
your agenda. Again, it's
yeah,
possible, even plausible, I would say, but it's not probable. We have to go with what the evidence is, and it seems from Paul's personality throughout his epistles, also from his own autobiographical statements, and what the scholars are telling me he is saying with these specific words of how he's describing himself, it's very improbable that Paul is saying is not trying to convey the message. No, his
yeah,
mind was pure. It was zealous,
yeah.
exceedingly zealous for the traditions of
Okay, here
fathers.
is
Yeah.
another. Okay, let me try
So I see
another
it now.
idea. Okay, maybe it was like Paul is describing like most of his career as persecutor, but he only started getting like those doubts, that reluctancy, like at the very end, like at the last, he was for years, he was a hard, zealous persecutor of the church, and only at the last months or something, he began having some doubts or something. So when he's talking about that, I was such a persecutor of the church, so zealous, he's referring to his most of his career, right? He's referring to his mind. So in his mind, he doesn't see himself like as lying or misleading, right? He just doesn't think it's important to say, hey, on the
Okay,
last month.
but then that would not explain his untimely born comment.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that
Well,
it wouldn't explain his untimely born comment then, because it's the moment of the appearance is it was
yeah,
this sudden, unexpected thing or whatever that came out. It's not his conversion and change
uh,
of mind was not something that was
yeah, yeah.
gestating
Oh, yeah, I
over
see.
a
Yeah,
period of
yeah. It
months.
says,
Again,
yeah, yeah. I just looked it up. Yeah, I just looked it up. It says the
yeah, yeah.
phrase highlights the suddenness of the conversion, right? It's like very sudden. It's not like a gradual change. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that built up or had evident precursors that and so again, just given Paul's language, he's explicitly denying that. Now you could say, well, who cares? He was fudging the truth a little bit. He really did have these, but again, I'm following the evidence, and all I'm saying is that I think it's more probable than not, much more probable, given what Paul says and given Paul's character traits as to how zealous he is post his conversion for Christianity, that I think, in all honesty, that yeah, he was very probably true. He was totally zealous for the cause. He didn't experience any inner doubts or inner sympathies for the Christians. But even if I admit that, so when I debate you as the resurrection skeptic, I'm going to grant you that, because I don't think it's necessary. You can still have a natural explanation regardless. But I'm just curious, do you think positing a natural mechanism for Paul's appearance requires Paul to have some ambivalence or some kind of cognitive dissonance or something like that towards Christianity before the appearance, or no?
No, no. I mean, not necessarily, but I think it makes like the hallucination like more likely to happen, right? Because if he was such a, so convinced, as you say, so zealous against Christianity, and it just seems weirder in a way for him for him to change his mind over an experience, over an hallucination, right? It makes more sense if he was experiencing doubts about it, or feeling guilty, and the guilt combined with the stress like made something in his psyche or his brain that caused this hallucination.
Fair enough. I disagree with that, and I guess when we do our debate, it'll be my job as the resurrection skeptic to say, actually, not it doesn't. I agree with you. Let me put it this way: that it provides a pretext, right? Because there is this as a precursor for hallucinations or something, that there does have to be these expectation or stuff like that. Sorry, that expectation plays a role in terms of bringing about hallucinations and stuff like that. So if you have that element established, it helps, kind of thing, right? But like I said, I don't think it is necessary at all to have that, and you can still posit a natural mechanism. And in fact, the mechanisms I'm going to be proposing for Paul on when we debate, I guess you're posting it up on Easter weekend, but we're doing the debate.
Oh, we're doing it live, no? I
Oh,
thought
we're
we
doing
were
it live.
doing
Okay,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So in that case, yeah. So on Thursday, at 11 a.m. on your channel. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want me to say it now, like, or do you want me
Yeah, yeah,
to hold it for?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah, we'll be having a devil's advocate debate. So I will be arguing for the resurrection, and they will be arguing against the resurrection. So it will be very interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just say this. I think that there is an equally probable natural mechanism to explain why Paul had an appearance. Again, given all the data is that we had a resurrection appearance of Jesus. He visually saw Jesus, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Possibly auditory as well, but yeah, I don't.
All right.
So I'll leave that. That's the mechanistic argument kind of thing.
The problem is, how do you explain the blindness? Now we are switching roles already. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like the blindness can be explained by any natural.
Well, there is a mechanism that can explain temporary blindness. Now it's problematic,
Yeah.
but it's called. I brought it up with Jonathan McLatchie. It's called conversion disorder.
Okay.
And so when Paul had his hallucination, well, shoot, I'm giving the game away. Okay, dang it. Okay,
Yeah.
well, anyways, I'll give it away. But for Paul, I believe he had a hallucination that was induced by his environmental factors rather than psychological. It was societal and environmentally induced. Basically, I think he was rushing to Damascus in the hot desert sun. He wasn't eating. He was in a rush. He was exhausted, and he had a sunstroke induced hallucination. That's an equally probable mechanism that explains it. It doesn't require any kind of sympathy on his end or prior expectation, but he had the content of Jesus on his mind, right? I want to kill those bugger Christians, and I hate this Jesus. And he got a sunstroke hallucination or a midbrain. I'm not sure if it's associated with epilepsy, temporal lobe, but maybe a midbrain induced hallucination because of the environmental factors. Now, in terms of the blindness, if that's true, I'm not going to be granting that to you. So you'll have to prove that he went blind. But if that's true, then there's this thing called conversion disorder, which could, after this traumatic event, could lead to temporary blindness or temporary stuff like that. Now, is it going to last 3 days? It just depends on how many details you're going to be proving to me. But if it's just blindness, the conversion disorder can explain temporary blindness. So, yeah, that's equally probable depending on the length of time and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't really planning to use Paul very much, by the way. It was just so I can tell you a little bit. It's mostly about the Gospels, I think. Yeah, I think
Okay.
Paul, but the early stuff like how he mentions group appearances in First Corinthians 15, for example.
Yeah.
I wasn't really planning to appeal to a lot to his conversion. I know that that's like another thing that
Yeah, so I,
apologists.
I deal because James Fedor purposely doesn't deal with it. I'm like, no, you got to address all the facts. If you're going to be
Yeah,
a skeptic, you've got to explain all the facts. So I've made an attempt to explain Paul's appearance as well.
yeah,
So
it's good. Sounds
we'll
great. Yeah.
see. You'll be proving me as a fool. So hopefully I'm wrong on that
Yeah,
side.
yeah, I will try. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Let me ask you. Sorry, I don't want to take over, but let
no.
me ask you. Now, obviously, the key issue is okay, can we prove that these, beyond just the minimal facts, that Paul had a resurrection appearance, that a visual thing that he believed was the risen Jesus, and even perhaps beyond him temporarily going blind and stuff like that? But like, how do we prove all of these secondary details attached to the attached to Paul's appearance? And do you think at what point do you, right, so pretend you grant them one by one, at what point would you go, yeah, that needs to be a miracle? Like if I say, okay, Paul had an appearance, it's a sunstroke hallucination, but he went blind afterwards,
Yeah.
maybe, and conversion disorder, like at what
Well,
point, at
see,
what point
probably there. I think probably there. I
okay.
think going blind for 3 days. I don't think that ever happens to anyone. Or maybe I don't know. I haven't looked into that. Honestly, I will have to look into like I don't know medical literature, like what people say. Like, does it ever happen to people? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I never heard of this or a mind disease or problem that makes you like temporarily blind. I've never heard of it, but I also haven't looked into it. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think probably
It's
there.
documents. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Joseph Bergeron and Gary Habermas have an article refuting it. But yeah, conversion disorder is what it's called. But like you said, there's that. But is it going to last 3 days? That's what
yeah,
Jonathan McLatchy said. And well, there's no documented cases like that.
yeah,
Another factor is, well, what about he has the intersubjectivity, right? Well, his friends saw or heard something, kind of thing, right? Obviously, I'm going to be going, well, I don't believe this happened because it's contradictory. In one account, they see something, and one they hear it. But if they did see or hear something, I think that's also very problematic for a naturalist to explain. Like, what happened? Like maybe there just happened to be an eclipse of the sun, and at that moment, Paul had his hallucination and he went blind. Like you can see
yeah,
it's just becoming more and more improbable and stuff like that. Right?
yeah, yeah. No, I think you have to deny that, right? But I think you have a problem there because Acts actually has a contradiction there. In one part, it says that the guys think saw something but didn't hear anything. But later, I don't remember exactly. I think it says the opposite. Like
Yeah.
they,
Well,
yeah,
in one account, they see something. Um, or sorry, yeah, they see something, but they don't hear anything. In another account, they hear something, but they don't see anything or whatever. Right. So it's kind of it's claimed that that's a contradiction. That's what I'm going to be claiming as the skeptic kind of thing. But
yeah,
there are answers for that. So I don't know what you're going to come back with.
yeah. I
And
haven't looked into that actually. So I think, yeah, I wouldn't know really.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I think that,
if your case doesn't depend on Paul, anyways, I guess, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. It's not. It doesn't depend a lot on Paul really. But yeah, I don't. I'm not so familiar with Acts really. Right? But yeah, I think I
cool.
still have to read it and look into that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
any good. Yeah,
Awesome. So okay, so I think we agree that look, once you posit anything beyond um, the mere appearance of the risen Jesus to Paul, any of the details, secondary details in Acts, you yourself will go, yeah, if that's true, if you can prove that historically happened, then there's got to be, it's a miracle. Like that seems to me like you would agree with that.
Yeah, I will agree
Okay,
with that.
awesome. Okay, all right. And here's my third and final argument, and then I'll give you back the reins. But um, I tried to make an argument based on the uniqueness of Paul, right? So in this case, this is where it's important for me to establish that, yeah, Paul wasn't experiencing cognitive dissonance. His prior mental state is key to the argument, because I think that despite sufficient opportunity, there have been lots of examples. The Hindu song, I don't know what his name is, Hindu Singh or something like that. He was a persecutor of Christians, hardcore Hindu, and he saw Jesus in a vision or dream or something like that, and he converted to Christianity and has been living in that life ever since. So there are examples of that. But whenever we find out more about them and they express more about it, they were always had some kind of predisposition prior to the experience, whatever it was, prior to the experience, they had a predisposition towards Christianity. This is why I think it's so important for people like Garrett Ludeman to go, oh, well, Paul, yeah, he had secret doubts. He had this stuff. But I just don't think the evidence warrants that. So if that's true, Paul is truly a unique case, a true, pure, zealous skeptic and persecutor converting. Now, if that's unique, do you think there's anything there to go, wow, it must be a miracle, or okay, maybe he's just a special case? Or
I mean, yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, I will. I mean, I will say what I said at the beginning, that maybe he had secret doubts, right? But I know you don't like that, right? I know you don't like that answer.
I just disagree. I just think it's
Yeah.
improbable given the evidence, but it's possible, and it's even plausible, I would argue, right? But
Right.
yeah,
But I mean, no. So what if? I mean, if there, I think it doesn't sound impossible to me. I mean, just out of the a priori, like prima facie,
yeah,
just doesn't seem like a massive absurdity. You might
yeah,
say, yeah, but it will be something unique, because when we look at other people, they will always like predisposed, right? But
yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Because I
yeah,
looked for and I will admit, like I didn't use this as an argument to convert. I threw it away before I became a Christian, because Gary Habermas told me to get rid of it. He said, no, of course there are examples. I spoke to Nabil Qureshi before he died. He also confirmed there are cases. But the problem is I didn't follow up with that. I didn't, okay, but what are the cases? And when you do get the specifics of the cases, no, they're not comparable to Paul, actually. In this, they're not pure persecutors. They're contaminated. They've got some doubts and stuff like that. So I'm just curious, has anyone ever found an example? This would destroy the argument instantly, where somebody is sincerely, purely, no, I hate this, they're wrong, I want to kill these Christians, and they have some experience, and all of a sudden they've changed their mind. Is there any example of that out
well,
there?
I gave you a counterexample earlier, which is a Muslim guy. You brought it up. You showed it to McClatchy, right? Because if that
Ibn,
happened,
yeah,
because I was searching, I asked ChatGPT, give me a counterexample to Paul's conversion. Somebody who converted, and they told me that there is this story about this Muslim guy who converted like that. I don't know. The problem is we don't know what was going on in his mind, and this is a point I wanted to make. You are comparing modern cases where we can interview a person and ask them maybe this and that, and ask them a lot of things, with an ancient case that we just we have a single sentence, and we have to speculate based on that what was about his complete state of mind, and it's like different. It's like not
no,
comparable.
we have an entire corpus of his letters that gives us psychological insights as to his personality and character. And we have his autobiographical statements where he is explicitly mentioning how, not only one place in Galatians, but also in 1 Corinthians 15, if N.T. Wright's argument is correct, where he's he's giving us this insight about how he perceived his conversion. It was this untimely birth, just out of nowhere. Bang, Jesus appeared to me and I bowed the knee and I followed and stuff like that. That's just what the data says. Like, there's no denying that. So it seems improbable is the best word for me to go, well, no, but yeah, he really did, but he just didn't mention it. And even though his words technically rule that or contradictory with that, sometimes people fudge the data. Like, you're having to, it's just improbable. You're adding ad hoc suppositions, and you're, I guess, twisting the data to fit what you want it to be. Again, it's possible, it's plausible. I mean, those things happen, but in Paul's case, it's improbable to me. So yeah, that's all I can say about that, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it would be cool if there is any example from the ancient world too. Okay, cool. Give me another guy we only have one sentence about. If there is any example, I would expect there to be at least one example of a pure persecutor.
Well, maybe you can look up the guy I mentioned earlier, right? I can send you the name again.
Yeah,
It's about something, I don't know, some Muslim guy who was a persecutor of the Muslims in the Mecca, and then he converts. He said there's a legend. He says he suddenly converted on something, So, yeah, I mean, what McClatchy said about that is like, no, but show me that he's exactly like Paul. I mean, like that he couldn't have been mistaken about it, right? And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to show you? I guess McClatchy is referring to the blindness, maybe, because that's not something you can be mistaken about, right? That's probably what he was getting at. How do you know Paul was not mistaken about it? Because you cannot go blind over an hallucination. That's not possible.
Gotcha.
If he wasn't, yeah.
Ibn Abbas. Yeah, I guess if that's him. Okay, so he did have family members. Yeah, so he started out a Muslim.
Really?
He would pray in Arabic with Muhammad and follow him on his assemblies journeys. Okay,
really? It says he converted to Islam. Let's see. We're looking at the same guy. Oh.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. Ibn Abbas is who I had up, but I don't know if that's the same guy you were talking about. But yeah, I'm just trying to read. I don't want to waste time on a.
No, that's fine. No, there is no one else waiting anyway.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I found it. It's called.
Yep.
It's called Umar ibn Khattab. Okay. Can I show this?
Yeah, maybe share your screen or something.
Yeah, that's right. How can I show this? Umar, let me see if I can. Umar, if I can share my screen.
Yeah.
So share screen. Oh yeah. Oh, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Oh yeah, it does. Look, there it is. Oh, are you seeing it?
Nope, not yet.
No, not yet. Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Al-Kitab. Oh, okay.
Originally a first persecutor of early Muslims. Was that the same guy? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he even wanted to unalive Muhammad. It says Islamic tradition, right? And he converted and became one of the most.
So here's the thing. He's one of Muhammad's followers. He was the second caliph, right? So he's one of the four rightly guided caliphs. What is it that led to his conversion? It was hearing the Quranic recitation. That's a natural event.
Yeah, that's right.
Reciting. Yeah. There's no supernatural thing here. That's the impetus.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it says down there in the bottom, it says suddenly converts after a religious experience. I don't know what is that referring to, right?
Well, if
Maybe,
you read up, it was after
yeah,
hearing the Quranic
you're
recitation, he
right. You're
converted.
right.
Because for
Maybe,
Muslims, the recitation of something, Quran means to recite. It's very
oh,
important. They're in a poetic culture, so they think one of these proofs. You and I would do. I think there's nothing miraculous about this at all. But for Muslims, they think the poetic beauty of the Quran is unparalleled, and this is a miraculous sign. So basically what this guy is saying, well, he heard the beauty of Muhammad reciting the Quran, and it was so beautiful to his ears that this must be true, and he converted. Fully natural experience, and
yeah.
yeah,
We don't know the full story. Like, I don't know. Maybe you're right. I think let me grant you the point. There is nothing like a miraculous hallucination there. Maybe if you look at it, I have to go deeper into that. Maybe he felt like something. He had an experience, like a really strange feeling at that moment, right? That is like more than the ordinary. Like, because it says here a religious experience, right? It says in the bottom part. So maybe he felt something, and that's like okay, that's like impressive. And it's also the fact that okay, a persecutor changing his mind over 1 second because he heard uh, someone reciting the Quran. Okay, that's something very unlikely, naturally. Like that doesn't happen, right? So that's also like it's not like okay, that's trivial. This is a trivial thing. It's not that, right?
no, it is a trivial thing. Like, and this happens all the time. It's one of the major. The most important Muslim proof. Again, for us as Westerners, it's garbage. But for the Muslim, this is the most important. Forget about splitting the moon in half, or that's all garbage. The only miracle that
Okay.
I would argue the Quran allows for it is this most important, the beauty of the Quran, this poetic beauty, and supposedly
Yeah,
it's unparalleled and stuff like that.
yeah,
But
yeah. I'm just
objectively speaking, it's not.
yeah, yeah. I'm just reading a website. Let me show you. Uh, mm, how do I? Wait, how do I? I have to share screen. There's another website where this is here. Uh, look, look. It says. Can you see it? No. Yeah, it says here. Uh, those verses. Can you see my mouse? Say those
Yep.
verses hit him like a truck. He started crying. He's like he was going to unalive his a woman or something, and he just recited some words, and he just immediately started crying. He felt the rage disappearing. I mean, his this cognitivity in man just broke down completely. I mean, it seems like he has some kind of strange experience that doesn't normally happen. I mean, it's not like the same as a vision, but it's still like strange, right? In a way that it defies explanation. Like you can say at least it's unlikely, right? Just like when you say it's unlikely that Paul, such a serious persecutor, will convert. One could also say, wait, it's unlikely that this man was so determined to unalive Muhammad will suddenly start crying and have this reaction to reading the verse. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So I see what you're saying. Like you're saying, it's analogous in this sense. Number one, we know it's natural and it's not supernatural, but this is why it serves as proof that what happened to Paul, despite being different in character, it's probably just another natural thing, because we know naturally, according this guy can be a stone cold persecutor without doubts, and all of a sudden he converts just on basing hearing beautiful words in the Quran. And that's, you're saying, yeah, if that can happen naturally, then maybe that's the same thing that happened to Paul or something, kind of thing. His appearance was some natural thing, and he just converted, kind of thing. He had a hallucination, and that was enough to do it for him. The only problem is, I would say, number one, with this guy who was the caliph and very close, like you said, I think if we had anything on his mindset, it would show that he is becoming sympathetic towards Muhammad. The more he hears, it's not like, oh, he was out in the battlefield ready to strike Muhammad dead, and then Muhammad read the Quran and went, oh, and fell on his knees. No, he was involved in the community. He was in going to places where he would hear the Quran. He's betraying implicitly that he has these. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe there is something to this. Let me check it out. Let me listen to the Quran and hear Muhammad preach it and recite it. And this is happening before he's hearing the recitation, right? So I would argue there's an implicit thing, and there's a total lack of any explicit, as so far as we know. Maybe it's in the Hadith or something like that, but there's a total lack of explicit sources talking about his internal mindset as being a pure persecutor at the moment he hears the Quran. Whereas with Paul, we do have the explicit evidence where he says, as of that moment, up until the appearance, I was the pure persecutor, and then at that moment, I was untimely born, kind of thing. So that's the only difference I would see is we have a lack of explicit evidence on his mind state, and implicitly, why is this guy listening to a Quran recitation to begin with? He's already in the community, being open-minded enough to join them and listen to Muhammad reciting the Quran. So
that he say, the way I read it, he was going to unalive somebody, and then that person began reading them, and then this like suddenly changed it. But he was like in a state of rage, so it's not like he was like curious about this and he decided to go listen to them reciting. I don't know. I would have to look at it with time. I mean, we just read it too fast. One will have to read the whole story, right? I haven't read the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's hear the story, and then also let's assess it for historical veracity is another thing. Stories and myths are cool from later on, but can we prove that this if he was right in the middle of battle and about to bring down his sword, and all of a sudden he heard the Quran and converted? Okay, did that historically happen? Just like we can prove with Paul, he did historically have his appearance or something.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's all I've got on Paul. I think that was good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I don't know how to show a comment. I want to show a comment. There is a comment.
Click on put your mouse over the comment in the live, and it'll say show.
Yeah, I don't see the comments in my live. I don't see them at all. I'm seeing empty. Wait, comments. No, I don't see them. Show comments. Oh, you comments will appear. Oh, wait. No, I think that's something else. I'm gonna write hello.
It's different on where you have comments. If there are any comments there, maybe nobody's commented. I don't know.
No, I see a comment. I saw a comment by 21st Century Apologetics. Oh, there he joined. He's in the QA. Okay. So I'm gonna bring him up after. Yeah, I wanted to show a comment he made, but I don't see how.
When you hover over the comment, if you can find make sure you're not in private chat. You're not in private chat, right?
No, I'm in comments.
So hover over the comment, and it should.
I don't see any comments, but I see it in YouTube. That's the problem. Maybe it's not connected. Oh shit! Now it's gone. Okay. Maybe I will, because I wanted to show him what he's okay, but whatever.
Yeah, bring him up though. So yeah, just so he's not waiting.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, Dale.
Not a problem. I'm glad to help. I hope I offered something interesting for the first hour.
That's interesting. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
21st Century, over to you, and take over. So, all right. Okay. God bless, guys.
Okay. Bye. So, let's you. Hello, 21st Century Apologetics. Hello.
Hello. My first time online.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sitting outside, so I wasn't for sure. When you put up the link, I said I'd give it a try.
Yeah, great. So, what do you think we should believe in the resurrection? Do you have any argument for it?
Oh, mine goes more toward the Shroud of Turin, but if you want to discuss that, that's up to you.
Yes, sure. The previous caller loves the Shroud of Turin. I don't know that much about it, but he's an expert of that.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have been through all the other arguments for the resurrection. I mean, if you want, like I was doing in the post, I was saying that my best argument against the resurrection would be that they started out with the idea that it was a cosmic Christ. And then they started seeing people converted who thought that they were talking about a physical resurrection. And so they decided, hey, this is a better story. Let's run with this one.
Okay,
I don't think it works, but I think that's the most powerful argument against it myself.
That's an interesting variation, like something like what Richard Carrier says, where he says that maybe it was a cosmic Christ, what they believe in, like originally, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe they didn't decide, like, let's not correct people, right? Let's run with this story. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's what happened, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, if we do that, that causes a lot of other problems, because that puts you square back to the apostles and the first century again, which is where the apologists are going to bring up all the rebuttals. It's really hard to rebut the case. What I found, you can basically just say, I don't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about the Shroud of Turin? You think? Yeah.
Okay, I go to how was the shroud itself constructed? Okay, it's just the fraud argument's impossible. I mean, there's no way that a human can construct that. And there, you got to get a little bit deeper into the science of it. I don't really get into what they call the authenticity or dating arguments. I don't really consider them important. I mean, if God did it in the Middle Ages, so what? It's still something people can't reproduce. So it's dating is important to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's the same thing Dale says, right? Have you looked at his videos on the Shroud, right? Dale,
yeah,
he says that even if we prove that it was a middle century, it was made in the Middle Ages, it is you still have the fact that it seems miraculous because it cannot be reproduced, right?
Exactly.
Okay, but yeah, I think the dating issue is the best response that the skeptic has, right? It's like, it's really the radiocarbon dating dates it back to the 13th century. And it's also the fact that there is this letter from this bishop who claims to know some guy who made it. And they seem to match very well, right? The letter and the radiocarbon dating, they kind of match. So it's like, if that's the false dating, how come these two things match so well, right? I think that's the strongest argument the skeptic can offer. So, first, regarding okay, you say that even if this was done in the Middle Ages, right, it will still show like a miracle. But the problem is, when you think that this will be like a deceiving miracle in a way, it's like God is deceiving you, because we have the gospel saying that there was a cloud covering Jesus. So the implication is, what people is going to think is, oh, those were their clothes covering Jesus. That's what everyone is going to think. But if it appears in the Middle Ages, it's almost like you're saying, okay, God in the Middle Ages decided to deceive people by making making an object that mislead them into believing that was the cloth that originally covered Jesus, right? It's something that is too weird, right? What do you think?
Well, there's when you focus just on the shroud image itself, okay, what people believe about it is separate from what the science says about it. That's what I get into, is the 3D information in particular. That's really and the superficiality of it, that's really what separates it from the fraud or the natural causes category. Although I have a different take on the natural causes thing. I think there is science that can explain it up to a certain point. That's what I call a trigger event, that something was happening during the resurrection that triggered the physics that left the image on the cloth. And that's what I think is way underexplored. I think we have the tools and the physical theories and other things to begin to test that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's a very interesting topic also. Yeah, I think there is some strength in that argument. I cannot grant that there is some mystery to the shroud. Like, skeptics haven't really fully explained that yet. And sometimes we talk about some kind of radiation from the body of Jesus that could have created that
Yeah.
image. And well, skeptics have proposed some ways in which this image could have been made. I think the best proposal, I forgot how the guys call it, like Tobo, something like that. I forget. He says that it was some kind of negative, like a photographic negative, like you matched like some kind of camera, and the sun was like the light, a source of light.
Oh, yeah.
You put a body, and it somehow projects the image on the linen. I don't know. Have you heard this idea?
Yeah, it's called the camera obscura. And the problem with it again is you're going to have distortion.
Okay.
You've got to get that. Even if you have a camera that can do that, the camera is then going to have to be able to burn the image evenly, which is very hard to do when you've got the convex lens, because it's also directing rays outward, and so you're going to have blur at the sides, and then it'll be more concentrated toward the center. And you don't see that on the shroud. It's perfectly uniform.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. But wasn't there a skeptic that was able to reproduce something very similar? I think I've heard that.
No, they've reproduced by different methods, either they've reproduced superficiality, or they've reproduced some small representation of something that they think applies to the shroud. But with the shroud, you're talking about a huge scale. You're talking about full body size, and all of this stuff has to be perfect for that full body size.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's very
My
cool.
My best proposal, if anybody wanted to go there, would be that this would be the best proof for alien contact. Because I could speculate they might have used something like a three-dimensional laser printer that could imprint the image on linen that's run by a super powerful AI that can control the depth and all that stuff. The only problem I have with that in it is, why would aliens do that? But
yeah, that's right. No, I think if you are a skeptic and you have to appeal to aliens, I think that you lost the debate really. Like, no, that's like, why would aliens do that? That's very ad hoc. I mean, it's not really that unlikely that you're going to say, no, it's more likely that aliens will deceive us. Like, I don't think so, right? So, yeah. No, I don't know that much about the shroud, to be honest. Like, I'm not sure how to respond to that. I have to admit that. Yeah, it's very interesting. Dale is an expert on that. Right?
Mm-hmm. It's the science part of it is very. I don't want to like try to slight the shroud researchers, but in my opinion, it's very underdeveloped because there's been a very narrow focus on the shroud itself, and not on the other things we've learned about studying unique events like this that could be used in shroud study. For example, with take the Big Bang, for instance. Okay, studying the cosmic microwave background radiation, they use different photographic tools. Like one that has been used on the shroud is called a Fourier transform. But there are other more advanced ways of using these Fourier transforms that could be applied to the shroud that haven't been, because they weren't thinking to look for the things that would tell them more about the science of how the shroud was created, the way the scientists were looking at the CMB. And if those tools were applied, there could be some very fast advances in shroud studies.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah. The other thing is that you have to, for many things, you have to destroy or alter the shroud to study it, and you don't really want to do that, right? That's a very precious thing and they're not. That's unacceptable, right? So we have to be very careful about what we can do to the shroud, right?
Yeah, that's the good thing about these type of studies. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is have very good images. And from what I can tell from the data, it's hard to get the raw data on the Fourier imaging, but it seems to be good enough that we could do those types of analysis. Because basically what you're looking at there is uniformity. Any kind of fraud, like that's the way they eliminated brushstrokes, for instance. because if there were brushstrokes in there, the Fourier analysis would have showed those distortions. Now, I don't really like to throw words out if you don't understand what Fourier analysis is,
Yeah.
but if you want to look it up, that is a very interesting subject there. And I advise everybody. I know a lot of people are scared to death of AI, and they're afraid AI is going to give them wrong answers, and a lot of times it does. But if you can use it to get much more familiar with the topic, like you can ask it to show me sources, and then you can go and look at those sources yourself. So I advocate responsible use of AI.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think AI is cool. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay.
You're welcome. Was there anything else? I know you're getting ready to do a positive resurrection case. That was why I gave my argument against the resurrection when I first got on here. I thought maybe you two were having that debate already.
No, we're doing it in 4 days, actually, the 26th. Yeah, that's very. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to try to make the other side
Right.
case. Yeah, should be cool.
Yeah, I always like to steel man all of my arguments. I call it stress testing. Like when Dr. McClatchy was on today, and I asked him the question about, well, maybe they're lying about some things and not in others. I actually agree with McClatchy, but I like to stress test arguments.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I actually use that argument. I think I usually bring it up because skeptics don't usually say that. They rarely ever consider the option. But I think, okay, what if the disciples had a genuine belief in the resurrection, but they wanted to make their case like more convincing, and they felt like they could lie a little bit on some things, and that's why we have to explain things like group appearances and stuff like that, right? But and they will say like, no, if they had been lying, they wouldn't have been willing to get persecuted, right? But my point is, they did have a genuine belief. Maybe they wanted to lie about some things. Who knows? Like, there's a possibility, right? That nobody considers it. So yeah, was a good question what you asked. Yeah.
A lot of apologists have made commitments that I haven't. Like to do I believe the Bible is inspired? Yes, absolutely. How and in what form is that information? Is that inspiration? How did it occur? And how did the apostles themselves understand it? For instance, here's like on canonicity. I don't think they had a canon. I think they had the Old Testament canon, and I think that what they're like Paul uses pagan philosophers. They use the Book of Enoch, Jude. What I think they did is they saw that Jesus rose from the dead. I'm assuming that's a fact. They saw that, and then they were willing to take anything that matched that and use it as scripture. And that's why Paul would take pagan scriptures, which reflected that resurrection idea, and use those when he was debating pagans. So I think their idea of inspiration was anything that matched the Jesus story this close, they would count as inspired. Now, I know I get blackballed from churches for saying that, but that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
I don't know if you're just tell me if you're through or something. This is, like I said, it's my first time ever being on a show like this.
Yeah, that's
what you just happened to post the link, and I said, well, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, this is actually my first time doing a show like this also, right? I wanted to see because I see some people online doing this kind of debate shows where people call and debate. I see sometimes they get popular, so I thought, yeah, let's give it a try.
Yeah. I just created a YouTube channel. If you want to, I guess my icon's there or something. If you want to check it out later, the one I'm getting the most activity is called the Information Theoretic Transcendental Argument. I think the general tag, the transcendental argument for God, I think, my opinion, it's got a lot of problems. So what I tried to do is go to the science of information theory as they're using it in physics now and develop a more powerful version of that. And so I've been posting, links to it on Reddit, and it's getting quite a bit of activity, at least for a new website. So
Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check. Yeah, I recently made a video on tag and what I don't think is a good argument, right? It's about the laws of logic and all these things, but that thing sounds interesting. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Good to talk to you. I do listen to you and watch you a lot. Another one I like, even though I disagree with him on almost everything, is what is it, Shang Tai?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Shang? Yeah, I love to listen to some of his stuff, even though I absolutely disagree. Yeah, you and him would be my two favorites. Two favorite atheists, anyway.
Yeah, great.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
All right, what do I do to turn off? Is there an off button on this?
The yellow, there's a yellow button. It says Lip Studio. You see it?
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Well, there's a yellow button there. I'll push it and see what happens.
I can remove you. Yeah, I can remove you also if you want. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I better. Yeah. Okay. I think you found it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was great. I'm glad we have some colors, right? So it was. It's been an hour, and I think that's good enough. Right? It doesn't look like we have anyone else wanting to join, and I think that's instead of waiting for half an hour for someone else to show up, I think that's good enough for today. So, okay, guys, thank you very much for watching and for joining. And yeah, maybe if there is enough interest on this, I will keep doing them. I will see if people want to call or something. If not, then I will just stop. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.